Hello, I'm Liana Lupas. I'm the curator of the scripture collection of American Bible Society, which means that the Bible Society is paying me a salary to do the work I love most in the world. I'm in charge of a collection of some 46,000 copies of the Bible in some 2,500 languages and dialects. Almost all of them are printed books. We have a few manuscripts, and I'm very happy to talk about my books and my manuscripts to you. So, the first English translation of the entire Bible was done in the 1380s, and that is before the invention of printing. The Wycliffe translation never got to be printed until the 1850s. The first English Bible to be printed is this one right in front of me. It dates from 1535. The title page fails to explain where it was printed, who did the printing. Before, in 1835, England was not completely a Protestant country. Translating the Bible into English and selling English Bibles was not perceived as really acceptable. The translator of this Bible was Miles Coverdale. He was the first British translator to translate the entire text of the Bible into English. And he remains one of the very few persons who did the entire Bible into a modern language. Coverdale actually was not very proficient in either Hebrew or Greek. And he didn't actually pretend that he did translate from Hebrew and Greek. He admits freely that he used the Latin text and what is printed here as Dutch, which means the German translation. Deutsch, not Dutch. And he had probably 5 different versions, German and Latin, which he used. The text is printed in a sort of lettering that is known as Schwabacher, which was absolutely current for serious publications. And Coverdale used a number of woodcuts, which are repeated in various places. This is, for instance, the beginning of Genesis, and it has 6 woodcuts representing the 6 days of creation. The title page here set the style for title pages of English Bibles for years to come. This is the first, and we are going to see a few other Bibles printed in English in the 1530s that model the title page on the Coverdale title page. What we see on top here is the Tetragrammaton, the 4 Hebrew letters that represent the name of God, that is so sacred that it shouldn't be pronounced. It would be to defile it to pronounce, so you just write it, and you write it in Hebrew. At the bottom of the page we have King Henry VIII, surrounded by his noblemen and his bishops. The scenes on the left are taken from the Old Testament, the scenes on the right are taken from the New Testament, and they are paired across the title page. The first scene, Adam and Eve in the garden, is paired with the resurrected and triumphant Jesus that redeems all mankind. Here we have Moses receiving the law, and on the other side we have Jesus giving the great commandment. Here Ezra is reading the law, and here Peter is preaching at the Pentecost. We will see that practically this model of a title page was so successful that it was repeated in the other editions dating from the 16th century. Coverdale certainly did not translate from the original tongues, but some of the equivalent he found in English are so good. They are still quoted today. They went from this first edition of the English Bible unto the following ones into the King James, and the King James made them known absolutely to everyone. A phrase like tender mercy comes from Coverdale. A phrase like loving kindness or seek the Lord while he may be found. These are Coverdale's phrases. And without knowing, we still quote them today, actually. Let's look a little at the illustrations, because the book is illustrated with very small woodcuts. This small woodcut depicts the sacrifice of Abraham. Everything is happening within a very small surface, but everything is clear and we can see God and Abraham with his stretched hand, stopping in the act of sacrificing his son. I find this a very, very nice depiction. Let's look at another one. Here's a small depiction of Aaron in his priestly vestment. It's a classical image to be found in 16th century editions of the Pentateuch. We can see it in Tyndale's Pentateuch, we can see it in most Bibles printed during that time. Most of the illustrations in Coverdale's Bible, as in other 16th century Bibles, are in the Old Testament. The New Testament has considerably fewer illustrations, probably because the publishers and the translators felt that the stories of the New Testament were easier to understand and did not need so much visual aids to be understood.